Hey, how's it
Hello,
going?
Mr. Walls.
Hey,
Are you ready for your 27 question interview?
yes, I absolutely am. Come on in.
So, can you tell us what is the first thing you did today?
First thing I did today, after I got up, I went and got my wife coffee, and then I got my 9-year-old twins out of bed.
So, what inspired you to teach both APUSH and AP Psych?
Um, I love U.S. history, and so I've always enjoyed teaching that, and I love teaching it at a really high level because we get to really go in depth with a lot of stuff. And then AP psychology is fascinating because humans are fascinating because we're really complicated creatures. So I really like teaching about human behavior and helping students understand themselves.
What is your favorite brain rot phrase?
um, the only brain rot phrase I think I even know is skibbity toilet, and I do not understand it. So it's by default my favorite.
We hate to make you pick sides this early, but APUSH or AP Psych?
Oh, that's like asking which children or which of my kids I love more. I love both classes. There's a different feel to each of them. So yeah, I don't want to ever stop teaching either one of them. So I can't really pick like a favorite.
Can you give us your teacher rival?
My teacher rival, it's Hipwell, and he knows why.
Okay. What is one snack you think everyone should try?
Swedish fish, they're amazing.
Favorite Star Wars movie?
A New Hope, it's what started the whole thing.
Favorite Star Wars character?
Darth Revan.
What inspired the ambiance of this room?
Um, well, we spend more time at school than most of us do at our homes throughout the week. So I wanted to make sure it was someplace that was comfortable and homey. And I really like the idea of students feeling relaxed and comfortable in my classroom. So that's why I wanted it to not feel like a real sterile classroom with really harsh fluorescent lighting. I wanted it to be somewhere where we could all be comfortable.
So let's address the elephant in the room. What is your height?
I am just a hair under 6'9".
Wow. Can you share a brief psychology fact all students should know about?
Um, I think one of the most important ones for students is that our brains are not done developing until about age 25. So be very patient and forgiving with yourself because the last part of our brains to really finish developing is our frontal lobe. And our frontal lobe is where our executive functions are, which is like our self control and our judgment and our emotional regulation. So you're not a complete person yet. So if you mess up, if you have a bad day, it's like you're not working with all the tools in the toolbox yet. And later you will have all of that.
Can you give us the best purchase you've made?
The engagement ring I gave my wife.
If you could witness any US history event, which would you choose?
Uh, Honestly, I would want to see all of Teddy Roosevelt's presidency.
Left brain or right brain?
Left brain. That's where language is. I like talking to people.
What is your favorite mnemonic?
I'm going to steal one from Mr. Hobson. He will tell his players and his students when, what's important now. And I think it's a good one because it helps us to focus on kind of the immediacy of what we have to worry about right now instead of worrying about stuff that's in the future and the past.
Give us the most interesting story from when you were an EMT firefighter.
um, there's a lot of things that happened. Probably the one that was the most interesting, or at least the one that I think about, was getting called to a bar um, because a guy had gotten into a bar fight and he had a pencil through one of his eyes.
Whoa. What is one thing your students would be surprised to learn about you?
I feel like they've learned everything there is to learn about me. Um, oh, I know. I got one. I won a dance competition, which anyone who has seen me walk or really do anything would be surprised by. But I actually won a salsa dancing competition.
Give us an unpopular opinion that you actually agree with.
I don't know how popular like how well known this unpopular opinion is, but I will absolutely never back down on this. Judy Hopps and Nick Wilde from Zootopia are not a romantic couple. They're just friends who have a good professional working relationship. That's it.
If you could have dinner with one historical figure, who would it be and why?
Teddy Roosevelt. I'm fascinated by him. I think he's one of, if not our best presidents. and he just lived an incredible life. He was an adventurer, an explorer. He was a cowboy. He was chief of police of New York. He was secretary of the Navy. I mean, he did everything. So no, I think he'd be fascinating to sit down with and have a dinner with.
What is a classroom moment that you will never forget?
I think probably a couple years ago, I think now about 7, 8 years ago, we interviewed Vietnam veterans. Actually, we interviewed them, and then with Mrs. Shea and Mr. Kadra, we put together a book of their experiences. Mr. Kadra's AP photo students took portraits of them, and it was just really awesome to see my students interviewing people who had lived parts of history that we were covering in our class.
That is truly amazing. What is a lesser known fact about sumo wrestling that more people should know?
Well, one, that it's awesome and you should totally watch it. But I think one of the things that's kind of neat because when you watch the actual tournaments, it's very serious. There's a lot of ritual in it, and the rikishi, the wrestlers, are actually not even supposed to display emotion during it. But before the tournaments, they have something called the shokugiri, where it's kind of like comedy sumo, and so they'll come out and they'll do like kind of acrobatic forbidden moves. It's almost like Harlem Globetrotters and like WWF, and it's just neat to see these normally really serious guys have fun with each other and with the crowd.
In a contest with Mrs. Garcia, who would name all the US presidents first?
She would. She's brilliant, and so she would win, but only by a little bit.
Give us your favorite NBA player.
I'm gonna get yelled at no matter who I say. Um, all right, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and lean into it. Michael Jordan. Growing up, he was the guy, and there have been many, many, many great players. I don't know that he's the greatest, but he's my favorite.
Give us your best memory at YLHS.
I've had so many. I love this school. I love the students. I love the staff. It's really hard just to have like a favorite memory. But I think every time that my students get done with the AP test and they come out of the gym looking accomplished, that makes me really happy. So yeah, I would just say every year once we get done after all the months of build up, like finishing the AP test, one of my favorites.
Give us a myth about teaching that you would like to debunk.
The teachers are out to get you. Um, I have been teaching for coming on 2 decades now. I can count the number of teachers who I would think were generally not in it for the students on one hand and have fingers left over. So teachers support you. They want the best for you. Even if they're being hard on you, it's because they know that long term it's going to help you out.
Okay, Mr. Walls, we are now approaching the end of this interview. Give us a piece of advice for people who want to take APUSH or AP Psych.
They're wonderful classes. Don't be scared because it has like the AP label. Some of my best students, the students over the years that I look back on as like an example of what I'd want all AP students to be like, had never taken an AP class before taking them. So they are challenging. It does take a lot of work and time on your part, but they're way more attainable than most people think.
For our last question, is there anyone else on campus that you would recommend this interview to?
Mr. Peach, he's one of the most personable, funny, warm, caring people I know. So definitely Mr. Peach.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you guys for stopping by.